We featured Norm Charbonneau's incredibly realistic-looking layout in Lionel Nation Part 2. To achieve his realistic look, Norm weathers his locomotives, rolling stock, and buildings. Since Norm's weathering looks so good, we ask him to show us how he does it. The look Norm wants is one of general use, the sense of a car currently working on the rails, not the look of a car totally beat up and ready for the rail car junkyard. Norm calls this functional weathering, a coat of rail grime, soot, and dust. He achieves this by using a general-purpose Testor's Aztec gun and compressor with a high-flow acrylic tip. He uses various colors of polyscale acrylic paint, including rust, grimy black, roof brown, and reefer gray.
On display in Grand Haven, Michigan.
Norm uses photographs, reference books, and photos off the internet for inspiration. First, Norm removes the trucks and covers them with a light coat of black paint. The idea is to knock the shine off. Then he reinstalls the trucks. Norm uses an X-Acto knife to add wood grain to the tack boards. After adding the simulated wood grain to the boards on both the doors and the ends, railroad tie brown paint is applied with a brush. Then engine black is used as a wash to darken the board's wood grains. Next, Norm applies a general overspray of grimy black on the sides, ends, and roof. This neutralizes the gloss and represents a coat of rail grime. This is followed by a general overspray of roof brown with some emphasis on the trucks and running gear. The wheels and couplers are sprayed with a rust color. The paint is acrylic and dries quickly. Norm slides the doors open to make sure he gets the area below the doors that is covered when the doors are closed. Various earth tone shades contribute to the realistic look, but each color has to be applied judiciously. No color should be used too much. Lighter colors give a sense of fading. Norm uses the rust color sparingly, as it has a tendency to dominate. After some final touches, Norm begins to dry brush with a color called reefer gray. It's called dry brushing because very little paint is involved. You dip the brush into the paint, then dab the brush until most of the paint is removed. Then use rapid strokes over the entire car and trucks. Dry brushing is very subtle, but it adds highlights and pops out rivet detail. That's about it. Norm gives the car a final inspection, uses a Dremel tool to remove any excess paint on the wheels, and now the car is ready for prime time on the rails.
By taking an existing locomotive, such as this SD40 made in 1995, and applying additional enhancements on it, you can add a measure of realism to it. If you're trying to replicate what is seen on a real model, your research may include the internet, books, photographs, or perhaps the real thing at a railroad museum. For those who acquire Lionel trains for their collectible value, it is never advisable to make changes to the original piece. The idea of detailing, like weathering, is for operators such as high railers who want to take an existing model and bring it to a certain level of realism. Or perhaps an old piece that needs a complete overhaul is a candidate for some extra creativity. Basic skills in model building, especially patience, are required to complete some of the procedures discussed. Lionel has often molded grab iron details into the shells of locomotives and rolling stock. If your research shows additional places where grab irons can be placed on your model, separately applied parts are available. Many hobby stores also carry the exceptionally thin drill bits used for installing small parts such as these. Before drilling a hole in the cab, use a thumbtack to carefully mark where the hole will go. The grab irons should be painted before installing them. Depending on the specific model and road name of a locomotive, research into the prototype may show the use of special additional safety lights. A Mars light is a unique oscillating headlight that animates a beam in front of the train. Some locomotives have an amber warning beacon on the roof of the cab. Various light kits are available to install on an engine. Various road names had different types of bells mounted on the locomotive. The Milwaukee Road had the bells mounted on the left side of the hood just behind the cab, not under the chassis as it is on the model. An O-scale part can be purchased, painted, and added to the appropriate place on the shell. Some models may require additional paint to better match their real-life prototypes. For instance, the Milwaukee Road SD40s had black walkways. Many locomotives also had the handrails by the steps painted white for safety. It is advisable to remove the handrails before adding any paint to them. A paint marker is an easy alternative to brushes for quickly and neatly adding paint to small areas. Around various points on a locomotive, there may be signs and notations for safety or technical specifications. In your research, you may be able to copy down these markings and create water-soluble decals with a computer program such as Photoshop and an inkjet or laser printer. Some decals need you to spray a protective coat so that when it goes into the water, the ink doesn't run. Blank sheets of white or clear decals for this purpose are available at many hobby stores. The clear sheet is for any colored text that is placed on the colored background of a model, such as black text on an orange body. White or clear decals can also be used to create number boards. These are just a handful of ideas and how to implement them for a specific locomotive. Depending on what piece you may want to add details to, additional ideas for how to do so can be found in books and in talking with other model builders.
Well, time to go. Hope you enjoyed the show.
Everyone loves that clickety-clack coming down the track. They can't ignore that all aboard, smoke pouring out the stack. Hear that whistle blow as the train pulls out of the station. It's clear to me, oh can't you see, it's a Lionel mission. Clouds of smoke are rising high into a big blue sky. Down the line, right on time, the train is rolling by. Everyone turns around and stares in anticipation. It's clear to me, oh can't you see, it's a Lionel nation. Engine shining gleam, that mighty sound and steam. Pistons pound around and round, just like in a dream. Another train pulls in and arrives at its destination. It's clear to me, oh can't you see, it's a Lionel nation. It's clear to me, oh can't you see, it's a Lionel nation.